Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. In this video, I'm going to be making an Oreo cheesecake. So I hope you guys like my first cooking video. Right here, I just put butter on the bottom of my springform pan so that the parchment paper will stick. So here I'm taking about 12 Oreos, I believe, and I'm just pulsing them. I used the mega stuffed. The recipe I followed used the double stuffed, but I decided to use the mega stuffed because my family really likes the cream filling. So I just pulsed this into not a powder, it was just kind of just chunks, and I'm gonna use this to throw into the actual cheesecake later. Then I melted a stick of butter in the microwave, and I took 12 full Oreos and 16 Oreos with the cream taken out, and this is going to be for our crust. I then pulsed all of that together until it was powder, and I added my butter and pulsed it again, and then I put it on the bottom of my springform pan and pressed it down on the very bottom, but mostly up on the edges. I wanted a nice high crust, so I pushed it up about 1 or 2 inches up on the side of the springform pan, and I also used a cup to help me spread it out flat and high up on the edges. Here I took 3 8-ounce packages of cream cheese, and I creamed them along with a half a teaspoon of salt and a cup of sugar. I also scraped down the sides and kept whipping it so that it would be super creamy and incorporated. After whipping it for about 3 minutes, I added 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour while mixing it still, and I whipped that again for about 3 to 5 minutes again. And then I added a half cup of sour cream and mixed it again for a couple of minutes. And then I added just a splash of vanilla extract and whipped it again. And then I added 4 egg yolks and 3 full eggs. So it was 3 full eggs plus an extra egg yolk. And I added them 1 egg at a time while mixing still. And then I scraped down the sides and continued to mix again. I'll also be linking the full recipe video that I followed down below in case you wanted to check that out. I forgot to mention that I also mixed in the cream filling that I took out of the Oreos earlier. After mixing everything and wiping down the whisk, I threw in my Oreo chunks and just folded them in so that they would stay chunky. I took my crust out of the fridge. I had it in there so that it would set, and I just started to pour in my cheesecake batter, and I poured a third in at a time and just crumbled up some bigger pieces of Oreo and stuck them in there just so that while you're eating it you could get different textures and, you know, a nice little big Oreo surprise in there, I guess. During this time, I had my oven preheating to 350 degrees, and I just continued to layer my cheesecake, and I spread out the remaining layer as flat as I could over the larger Oreo chunks. I then took some foil and I crossed them over and I wrapped them around my springform pan because I've made a lot of cheesecake, and sometimes the butter from the crust obviously gets hot in the oven and it leaks through, so I just covered the bottom of it. I cooked it at 350 for 10 minutes and then lowered the temperature to 300, and I baked it for 45 to 55 minutes. Just keep an eye on it and it'll be ready when the center jiggles, but it is set. And yeah, this is a kind of cheesecake because you're gonna cover the top anyway, so it's okay if it cracks a little bit. But during the time that it's baking, you do not want to open your oven. You can open it when it's done, but keep it closed for the time that it's baking. And then I let it sit in my oven until the oven completely cooled down. So I closed my oven and I just let it sit in there for like 3 hours. And then, as you saw, the foil was covered in butter, so I'm glad I added the foil. And then I just loosened the edges to release the cheesecake from the springform pan. I also let it sit in the refrigerator for about 5 hours before releasing it. I woke up in the middle of the night, like at 11, and I took it out of the oven and put it in the fridge, so it was sitting there until the morning time when I was ready to decorate it. As you can see, a chunk of the bottom of my crust fell off, but it's okay. I just mashed it back under there and it was fine. I also just put it on this cake board just so I could wash the butter off my springform, because I did store it on my springform in the fridge, but I wanted to wash the butter off first. I then made a white chocolate ganache and a milk chocolate ganache. I just took some chocolate morsels and I microwaved them for a minute, and then I took some evaporated milk and I microwaved that for a minute, and then I mixed them together to make a nice ganache for the top. And I did the same thing with the white chocolate. Just make sure to watch it while you're microwaving it so that you don't burn it. And I had to mix this a lot. I should have used a whisk, but I was already committed to the spoon and I did not want to wash any more dishes. And just keep adding milk until it's the consistency you want. I wanted it to be a little bit thicker but still be able to drizzle it, so that is the consistency I looked for. At first, when I started decorating the cheesecake, I was gonna just do a drizzle effect with both the chocolates, but I made the white ganache a little too thin, so I decided to just do the same design as I saw on the recipe video that I followed. And that was basically just pouring all of the white chocolate onto the center and pushing it up kind of close to the edges, but not really, because there's going to be whipped cream there anyway, so you're not going to see it. And then I just made sure it was evenly spread out, and I drizzled the milk chocolate over it and then swirled it with a toothpick. And I normally would have made my own whipped cream as well, but I didn't have heavy whipping cream, so I just used the tub whipped cream, or the tub Cool Whip, and it worked just fine. I also didn't have any piping bags, so I tried to use a gallon freezer bag, but I have the kind that is the stand and fill, so the corner, I couldn't cut off the corner, so I cut off the top of the corner where you zip it, and my dollops came out kind of oval because it wasn't a perfect circle, but I kind of like how it came out regardless. Like, it just gave it a little edge, and my cheesecake looks very rustic and cool, and I really like how it came out. The flavor, you would imagine it to be super sweet, but it's not that sweet. It's, you can still really taste the cheese, the cream cheese in it, which I really like, and it just tastes really good. I really enjoyed this cheesecake. I then took some Oreos that I hid from my family so that they wouldn't eat them all, and I'm glad I did, because I returned to the bag the next morning and the rest of the Oreos were all gone. So I just cut them in half with a really sharp knife. Yes, I cut on my counter. It's fine. I know that's like kind of triggering, but my counters aren't very nice anyway. So I cut them in half and placed them evenly around my cake, and this is my finished product. Isn't it beautiful? I really love how this cheesecake turned out. Like I said, I'll link the original recipe down below, and I also tried to do an aesthetically pleasing cut of the cheesecake, but the cheesecake broke. I should have used a pie spatula whenever I lifted it out, but I used my knife, so the tip broke, but it came out good. So I really hope you guys enjoyed my first cooking video. If you want to see more, let me know. If you want to see actual cooking, like with meals, let me know. I love to bake and I love to cook, so I'm always cooking. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.